Okay, hello everyone. Today we're going to look at the 2012 History N Level Source-Based question on Hitler. Okay, so let's take a look at the background information. Now, if you look at the background information, it is very useful because it will actually tell you what to scope on. Now, it tells you about how far did Hitler rely on terror. So straight away, you know that this particular question is actually on Hitler's rule. Correct. It also tells you about the impact itself. Okay, so for this question, how far did Hitler rely on terror? It is definitely a yes, he did rely on terror, and no, he did not. Okay, now the background information itself tells you how he rose to power. So it tells you that he became the German Chancellor in 1933. He took steps to crush any opposition. Political parties were banned. Anyone who spoke out against the Nazi were arrested, even the members of their own Nazi party, okay, because Hitler had a private army and a totalitarian state. Now, the meaning of totalitarian state means it's government controls everything. Okay, your freedom is basically gone. All right, now let's take a look at source A. Source A is a poem written by a priest, Christian priest, who was imprisoned in the Nazi concentration camp. All right, throughout these years. Now, they came first for the communist. I didn't speak up because I wasn't communist. They came for trade unionists. That means these are people who try to fight for workers' rights. Or the standard of living of workers. Okay, they came for the Jews, and okay, I didn't speak up because I wasn't in trade unions. I didn't speak up because I wasn't a Jew. All right, then they came for me, and by that time, no one was left to speak up. So this actually meant that, everyone sort of died. All right, so it tells you that society was basically being controlled by what was happening at the time. Was very controlled by Hitler. Okay, so for this particular phrase, no one was left to speak up. It's either everybody died, or who was left were actually just the Germans, who were strong supporters of Hitler. Okay, so did this source tell you that Hitler was using terror? Definitely. You see that all this is what we call terror tactics. Okay. Now let's take a look at source B. Now source B is a poster in the 1930s. It is a Nazi poster. So obviously when you see a Nazi poster, we can always assume or guess that there could be some propaganda elements. Okay, and it says that all Germans listen to the Führer on the radio, and you can see in a clearer picture on the left here, there is actually a lot of people listening, and this is the radio. And we all know that during Hitler's rule, the radio was used as a propaganda tool. Okay, but if you look very carefully, it feels like as though because everyone was listening, what was the outcome, or what was the objective of this particular source? It was probably trying to get people to believe. It was trying to convince others how it is very important to listen to Hitler. Okay, and when you listened to Hitler, what is the ultimate goal? It is actually to support him. Right. So this is an example of how in an everyday German life, you can see that there will be a radio here and everyone listens to the radio. Okay. It is also part of brainwashing. All right. As well as what we call propaganda. Now moving on. Now this is a German cartoon. It's quite interesting because this German cartoon actually showed that the Nazis were burning books. Now, it is a German cartoon, so this is a very ironic source because it tells you, well, the truth that Germans were actually burning books. And what was the reason why they were burning books? They were burning books because they wanted to get rid of anything that is against Hitler or against Nazis. So whatever books or information that was available was only pro-Hitler or pro-Nazis. But this particular cartoon was really quite brave in telling the truth, because when you burn books, it's actually quite negative, right? So just be very careful or pay attention to this kind of sources. All right. Now, moving on, this is an American cartoon which was published in 1936. Now, this you would expect people to be slightly critical of Hitler. And if you look very carefully, it is quite true. Here it says that in these 3 years, I've restored honor and freedom to the German people, but actually it is, use this word, at the expense of who? It is at the expense of religious group. It is at the expense of women. It is at the expense, if you look very carefully, at the workers. So while he here claims that he has restored honor and freedom, but it is at the expense of all the other people. So does this show that he was using terror to control the country? Definitely. Okay. Now, source F is an interview in the 1980s with a German woman who remembers her mother's attitude. Now, because this is a German woman, she may not represent the entire country, all right, in whatever that she's talking about. Okay, now if you look very carefully, this is a very positive portrayal of Hitler. If you look, she was convinced that everything that Nazi was right. Nothing could shake her faith in Hitler. She accepted that there was a need for concentration camp, and people who were useless and good nothing need to be cleared off the streets. Criminals need to be re-educated, and of course nobody would be harmed. So it is very much that this particular woman was actually sort of brainwashed into thinking, and she did not think that Hitler used terror. In fact, Hitler was using was following the rules, because Hitler was only getting rid of people who were not desirable. Okay. Now, if you look back at inference question, when every time you have a what, okay, it is an inference question. Remember how you answer it. Basically, it's just IEE, and this is the steps that you write. Okay, let's take a look at this. Again, this is quite easy. This is purposed. Okay, always remember to have a good purpose verb. So it is like to convince, to persuade, those kind of good verbs. All right, always remember the outcome. Okay. Now this is actually a compare-contrast question, but slightly tricky because it's not like your basic compare-contrast question. Now always remember, use the question stem. So always make sure you answer the question instead of just saying that sources C and D are similar or are different. You must answer the question. So just simply say that yes, they have similar opinion or same opinion because the artist in source C showed something, 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 and the artist in source D showed something, something, something similarly. Okay, so make sure that your sentence structure is quite similar. Okay, and lastly, of course, it is the reliability question. Okay, always remember it's 2 paragraphs. Always start with proof. Again, question stem, answer the question. Okay, yes, this source proves that German people supported Hitler. So if this shows support, then your cross-reference or to your contextual knowledge must also show that Germans support. If you don't have contextual knowledge and if you look at other sources, choose a source that actually shows support. Now, it does not prove due to purpose. If you cannot find purpose, okay, go to cross-reference. Why is it that in the particular source that shows the woman is quite obsessed with Hitler, are there examples to show the opposite? To show the opposite, which means that people who were against Hitler. Okay, so you must make sure that it match. Those are the things that you need to take note. All right, okay, so we'll go through the answers and you can also try out the questions itself. I hope you have a slight understanding when we unpack the question. This particular paper, it's not so hard, but you have to make sure that your cross-reference actually matched. Okay, all right, see you again. Thank you.